Howdy and welcome to the Mighty Mighty Chuck channel. I'm Chuck. Today I'm going to talk about the mother of all Mandela Effect theories. The mother of all Mandela Effect theories. That's what I'm going to talk about today. It will fuck with your mind, baby. It will fuck with your mind. I mean, seriously, you'll feel like you've got, if you really think about this and you contemplate on this and you wonder about this and you start thinking back about things, you start thinking back about things, it'll be like a big old dick hitting your brain, fucking your brain, or your brain's been swallowed by the vagina of a really beautiful woman, which wouldn't be so bad, would it? No. Now, the subject of this theory is about what I was researching. I was researching this before I even knew anything about the Mandela Effect, because this is a subject I was going to use in one of my stories. I was just trying to do a little bit of research on it. And the subject that I was researching, purgatory. 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 Now, if you watch my video on reincarnation, you know that I talk about where people have talked to people either who are under hypnosis or people who are still children, and the children still remember past lives. And they also remember what happened to them between lives. Now, what people relate to what they experience between lives is not always the same thing. In other words, what one person experiences between lives might not be what somebody else experiences between lives. Some people, it's like they've gone up to a kind of boarding school. It's where life is about learning, and they feel like between lives they've gone into a boarding school where they review lives and different things go on. But it's kind of like a boarding school. I compare it to a boarding school. That may not be exactly how the best way to compare it, but I compare it to like a boarding school. And another group of people, it's more like they're just spirits contemplating stuff, like they're still on Earth. They're like sitting in trees and just enjoying things, just contemplating things, sitting next to a river, just contemplating, enjoying things. So, in other words, what one person experiences may not be what another person experiences. Now, this theory on purgatory is that in some cases, at some point, the people who have died, they slide into this reality, and this reality is a kind of purgatory. That's a theory. Now, a lot of people in the forums that are talking about the Mandela Effect, a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them, many of them, they've had near-death experiences, and so that is a theory that that comes to their mind. They wonder, was it a near-death experience, or did they actually die and move to a different reality? Are they in purgatory? They wonder. They think about it, and when you start thinking about it, it's not altogether healthy. It's really not. It's not healthy to think about it, because you've got to realize this. Whatever this world is, it's real. Every action has a reaction. Everything we do does have a consequence. So whatever this world is, whatever the Mandela Effect is, this world's real, and that needs to be kept in mind. You can come up with theories, come up with ideas, and you can wonder the worst. In my opinion, the idea that this is purgatory, that is one of the worst theories, and yet it may be one of the more plausible theories, and that's what makes it even worse. But I'm going to talk about that now. Where does the name Mandela Effect come from? It comes from a man that many people believe who had died in prison during a hunger strike, and in this reality where he didn't die. So it's not that big a stretch to think, okay, maybe Mandela himself moved to this particular purgatory, this particular reality after he died, and in this reality he was given a second chance. He was given a second chance. And in that second chance, he excelled. He became a better man. He became a respected leader. Because in the reality we remember, to be perfectly frank, the reality that we remember where he died in prison during a hunger strike, him and his wife Winnie were horrible creatures. They were horrible, horrible, horrible creatures. They were terrorists. They were murderers. They were killers. And not for the noble good. In this reality, he was given a second chance. And he became a better person. And maybe if this is purgatory, which I'm not going to say it is or isn't, because that's really, to me, I don't really like the idea. As a writer, I kind of like the idea as far as developing a story around it. I like it from that perspective. But from the perspective that I may be dead and in purgatory, yeah, I don't like that one bit. But you think about where the name comes from. It comes from a man who, in the reality we remember, died during a hunger strike. And in the world we remember, he was not really a good person. And his wife, Winnie, was a horrible person. The two of them were not good people. Now, I know that's hard for people in this reality to consider, Mandela is anything other than what they've been taught to think that he is. Because in this reality, he did become a good person. He became a person to respect. But in the reality many of us remember and many of us come from, he was not a good person. So the Mandela effect, where the name comes from, it in itself lends itself to the idea that this is purgatory. And then you have the Forrest Gump Mandela effect. Mandela effect. I'm not talking clear. I apologize about that. Okay, in the Forrest Gump, in the reality we remember, it's life is like a box of chocolates. Okay, is. Life is. Life is. Life is. Okay, and what is it in this reality? What has it become? Life was like a box of chocolates. Was. That hints at purgatory as well. It does. It's like, okay, are there certain things in this world that is hinting to us that we have died and are in purgatory? And that change does lend itself to that there's some message there that the line would change from life is to life was, to tell us, life is no longer, but life was. Life is no longer, but life was. Is that what that Mandela effect is about? Is it telling us that we're in purgatory? It's a troubling thought. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Now, after I was reading on this and studying on this and the idea that we were in purgatory, I went to a fast food place, and I was standing waiting for my order, and this guy started talking to me, and he had been electrocuted. He was telling me about how he was electrocuted and how he almost died. And that was right after I had been reading up on this. And that, what? I just listened to him. I didn't suggest, maybe we were, I didn't suggest, the purgatory theory. Because, no, I wouldn't dare do that to someone, just casually where I'm talking to them. That would be too weird. But it kind of fucked with my mind a little bit. Yes, it did. So when you start contemplating this theory and you just kind of mind fuck yourself, really, that's what you're doing. When you start thinking, you're wondering, when did I die? If this is purgatory, then when did I die? And it's it's probably not altogether healthy to wonder that. And then again, can you really help yourself when you actually start contemplating this theory? It's like, okay, if I'm dead, when did I die? And of course, you also wonder about your loved ones. Okay, if you've slid into purgatory, if you went through a sleep of some kind and you woke up in purgatory, who knows what the timing is of exactly, say this is purgatory. Maybe you didn't immediately, the theory is kind of like you just slid right into purgatory, but that's highly unlikely, really. The odds are you were somewhere else between, and then at some point, you entered into this world, if this is purgatory. But regardless, still, another thought that occurs to you, okay, if this is purgatory, okay, and you tend to want to think that it was like you died at this moment and then you slid into this reality. It's like the theory kind of wants to make you think that it's like an immediate thing, but the odds are more likely that there's been some time passed. In other words, maybe you went into a sleep of some kind. And maybe you couldn't deal with certain things, and so you just went into the sleep in the spirit state. You went into a sleep, and the powers that be made it so that when you woke up, you were in a purgatory. But regardless, you tend to want to think in terms that you were here in where you were really alive. And a reminder: this is just a theory. It's just a theory. But in this theory, you was here where you were alive, and then something happened, and you died, and now you're here in this purgatory. So one thought that occurs to you is, okay, what about my loved ones? They were back there grieving for me. If I died, they were grieving for me. Or in my case, they might have been dancing on my grave. I don't know. But you think, oh, they're grieving for me. And then you won't think, but they're here. They're here in this world. How could they be there and here? There and here? It doesn't really make sense, really. That part of it doesn't. Your loved ones, are they just simulated? And you don't want to think that. And it's not healthy to think that. Never healthy to think that. They've got to be real. Like I said toward the beginning of this, you've got to consider whatever this is, you've got to consider it real, and you've got to behave the same as if it's real. You don't want to mind fuck yourself to the point that you don't think this world is real. But still, when you're contemplating this theory and you think, okay, what if I did die? Okay, my loved ones were back there grieving for me, but wait, they're here. It doesn't really make sense. How could they be both places? Maybe, whatever. I'm not going to try to come up with a theory for that. So yeah, I confess, as I've considered this theory, I wondered, if this is purgatory, then when did I die? In my case, I almost drowned when I was 3. Do I think I entered purgatory when I was 3? Not really. I don't think so. Then much later on in my life, closer to the current time period, I was in a store that I own, and it was late. It was late night, and it was hot. We didn't have air conditioners that were working good, so I had the doors open, and the police came into my store, and they fully expected to find me dead. They got some kind of report of some kind, and they thought they was going to find me dead in the store. It's really weird. So is it possible I might have been murdered and, I was dead in the store and didn't know it? I guess it's possible. I don't really want to think that's what happened. No. Like I said, if you think too much on this, if you really accept, oh, I'm dead and I'm in purgatory, that's not healthy. No. And there's another period that's kind of between, like when I was 3 and almost drowned, and then when the police came in the store expecting to find me dead. Between that, there was another event, and it's really kind of muddled, and there's kind of skips in my memory, and I'm not even sure whether there might not be a dream mixed in with the memory. I mean, it's really a muddled memory, and it's. I started going into details on it, but then I decided no, it's too personal. So, but that's another time, that I might have died. But like I said, it's just really not healthy to go too much down the rabbit hole, to think too much on it. It's interesting to kind of contemplate. It might be even entertaining, and the idea, the theory is interesting, but it's really not healthy. I don't believe that it's really healthy to take too seriously, because you got to consider whatever this world is, it's real. And like I said, there's real consequences to whatever you do. You got to consider this world is real. Even if it's not real, it's real. Anyway, thanks for watching.